Today I'm going to talk about gastrointestinal tract immune mediated disorders. And as can be seen here, this is the mucous membrane and the villi are lined by epithelial cells. So within the gastrointestinal tract, there are lymphoid tissues known as gastrointestinal tract associated lymphoid tissues, or G.I.T, which is a component of mucosal associated lymphoid tissues. They are present in two forms, either diffused or scattered. As can be seen here, these are the villi. So separate these white cells from the lumen of the gastrointestinal tract, or they can be present in an organized forms as follicles, and these follicles are located in the mucosa and extend to some mucosa of the small intestine, especially the ileum. And these follicles are referred to as bare patches. The innermost layer of the gastrointestinal tract, of the innermost layer of the mucous membrane, or known as lamina propria, they are scattered lymphocytes, and they are mainly IgA secreting B cells. As can be seen here, these are B cells, but however we find T cell, dendritic cell, and macrophages, and these B cells, they produce secretory IgA antibodies that confers protection for the mucous membrane. Also, some cells of the lymphoid tissues or lymphocytes, they are present intraepithelially. Intraepithelially, as can be seen here, these are lymphocytes between the epithelial cells, and some cells, they are present within the mucous membrane, and these are known as M cells. So M cells, they just endocytose non-self antigens, or challenges, or bacteria, or parasites, or viruses, or whatever, and they transport these antigens to the underlying tissues, where they are taken by dendritic cell and macrophages, processed and presented to T helper. So in turn, T helper cells help the lymphocytes to produce IgA, or secretory IgA antibodies. As can be seen here, this is the IgA, or the secretory IgA. It is dimeric, where there is chain and secretory component. This is within the mucus secretion, and actually this secretory component between the two parts of the dimer, they actually protect this or protect IgA from the digestive enzymes. And the IgA within the lumen or within the secretion or within the mucosa of the gastrointestinal tract plays very crucial function in protecting the mucous membranes from the invaders. And now I'm going to talk about an autoimmune disorder resulting from sensitivity to eating gluten, which is present in wheat, barley, and rye. And this disease is known as celiac disease or gluten sensitive enteropathy. So patients with celiac disease or gluten sensitive enteropathy, they have been suffering from loss of weight, diarrhea, and many things related to upset of the gastrointestinal tract, and this is due to atrophy of the villi. As can be seen here, this is a normal villi, but in case of celiac disease, the villi get atrophied, and the mechanism of this inflammatory process, it could be antibody mediated, it could be cellular mediated. In case of antibody mediated, there are some enzymes which are present within the cell or the nucleus. For example, transglutaminase enzyme, and this enzyme actually is the enzyme that play a role in immunopathogenesis of gluten sensitive enteropathy. This enzyme is essential for healing apoptosis and maybe differentiation, but however it acts as an autoantigen for autoantibodies. So when this enzyme interact with these antigens, they will lead to inflammation as the mucous membrane with subsequent atrophy of the villi. Also, the cellular part of the immune system or the cellular immune response play a role in immunopathogenesis of gluten sensitive enteropathy. For example, T helper ones, they produce interferon gamma, and as you know that interferon gamma recruit more macrophages, and these macrophages, they produce tumor necrosis factor alpha and interleukin 1. These are pro-inflammatory cytokines that may lead to inflammation with subsequent scarring and atrophy. And also it could be linked to some human leukocyte antigen DQ2 and DQ8. So now I'm going also to talk about ulcerative colitis, which is a chronic autoimmune disorder of unknown etiology. But however, it is suggested to be an autoimmune or an autoimmune disorder, and it could be due to abnormal immune responses to microbes, or it could be due to immune responses to normal immune responses to chronic infection, but however it could be very exaggerated and augmented. And hereditary, it seems that it plays a role in patients with family history of ulcerative colitis. And actually, ulcerative colitis affect the large bowel and the rectum. So Now I'm going to talk about Crohn's disease. Similar, this is inflammatory bowel disease, chronic inflammatory bowel disease, like in case of ulcerative colitis, but however, it can affect any part of the gastrointestinal tract. And the etiology, actually, it is not clear. The etiology is not clear of this disease, but however, it is suggested that it could be immune mediated. Usually, immune system in normal condition attack bad and harmful bacteria, but it does not attack commensal or good bacteria. But however, in case of Crohn's disease, the disease could be due to immune attack on the commensal bacteria, and this may lead to inflammation, ulceration, and of the G.I.T and thickening of the G.I.T wall. So now I am going to talk about the IgA deficiency. As I mentioned before, that IgA it is produced by the plasma cell within the submucosa, and the M cells, they allow the antigen to pass, and they are encountered by the dendritic cell macrophage as antigen presenting cell. So they present it to T helper, and T helper activate B lymphocytes, and B lymphocytes differentiate into plasma cell and B memory. Plasma cell produce IgA in this area submucosally. It is actually dimeric, two molecules. They are connected together by J joining chain, and also there is secretory component. And here in a submucosa, this molecule of dimeric IgA, it binds to polymeric immunoglobulin receptors and transported this structure of this molecule transported in a vesicle to the lumen. However, it undergoes enzymatic cleavage from the polymeric immunoglobulin receptors, but however, a small part of polymeric receptors remains attached to the dimer, and this small part together with the secretory component, they protect antibodies, they protect the dimer of IgA from the effect of digestive enzymes in the lumen or in the mucous membrane. And IgA secretory, this secretory IgA plays a very crucial role, as it is it protects the mucous membrane from the infecting microorganisms, and also protect microbiota. Microbiota is a commensal and good bacteria. So deficiency of IgA deficiency may lead to serious illness due to destruction of microbiota, and these commensal bacteria, when get distracted due to IgA deficiency, the harmful and pathological bacteria may grow, and this may lead to loss of weight and serious illness and disturbances in the absorption of nutrients and metabolites, and maybe some fats. Okay, now I am going to talk about autoimmune hepatitis, and it is due to attack of liver cells by the immune system, and this attack could be assisted by other factors, for example, genetic predisposition and environmental factor. But however, it is associated with some autoantibodies, for example, anti-nuclear antibodies, this anti-autoimmune hepatitis, anti-nuclear antibodies, and autoantibodies specific for smooth muscles. And also in case of primary biliary cholangitis, one can detect anti-mitochondrial antibodies, and also it could be associated by liver kidney microsomes 1 autoantibodies. And just for your own insight, that the student should know gastrointestinal manifestation of systemic autoimmune disorders. So some systemic autoimmune disorders may have some gastrointestinal manifestation, for example, Sjogren's syndrome, and this is an autoimmune disorder due to cellular infiltration of the salivary and the lacrimal gland, which may lead to dry mouth and dry eye. And this also another autoimmune disorder is known as lichen planus, and may be associated by gastrointestinal tract manifestation. For example, in case of lichen planus, one can detect very painful shallow oral ulcer. In case of Behçet disease, which is an autoimmune disorder, the patient may present with oral ulcer, diminution of vision, and genital tract ulcer. And in case of systemic lupus erythematosus, the patient may present with painless oral ulcer, in contrast to lichen planus, where the patient usually presents with very painful oral ulcer. Thank you very much, Professor Ahmed Boulad.